Oh, YouTube, what's up? This is honestly a quick progress video, you know what I'm saying, to genuinely show you guys how far I've come within the last 6 months, or really just being in the lab, locking in, and generally understanding certain things. Because if you look at a lot of the things that I'm going to show you guys today, and you look back at other content you've seen of me, it looks a lot sharper. Like, for example, the shadow boxing y'all seeing right now. If you looked at my shadow boxing from like about December or November, even in the shorts, like the quick shorts, or even in my day of the life of an aspiring amateur boxer video, you can honestly notice the genuine difference in between everything. Like, I want you guys to look at this bag work from about 6 months ago. This is from my day in the life of aspiring amateur boxing video. If you ain't seen this video, I'd love for you to tap in. If you look at a lot of my shots, they look a lot slower, albeit I could say here I was actually generally probably a little bit tired, but regardless of the fact, you can tell it looks a lot sloppier. And funny enough, I used to actually think this stuff used to look good. Like, it's crazy how far and how long you can generally come in only about 6 months. Like, if you notice from the bag work in general, I'm very front foot heavy, right? Everything's very front foot orientated. Like, you can see, like, yo, I'm putting a bunch of pressure on my front foot. Like, all of the weight is on my front foot. Even though instinctively I genuinely knew that you should be having about what, like 60-40%, like what, 60 on the back foot, 40 on the front. But I wasn't doing that because instinctively that leaning forward felt a lot more natural and comfortable. Like, you can see that I'm just constantly leaning forward. And then sparring that I'm going to break down probably in my next video, you guys will see. You're going to see a lot of me leaning forward and all this other stuff. But as you also notice, combinations don't look as sharp or as crisp. Like, you can see how I move. Like, look, I was just leaning constantly forward, like how I mentioned. And I'm kind of not moving in the way that I kind of understand how to move now when hitting the bag. So, as you can see now with this newer bag work, this was about a couple of days ago, you will notice the genuine difference. The first thing you can easily notice that I'm a lot more relaxed, because before I never even knew that I was being tense when I actually was hitting the bag. And another thing that you would generally notice, there's a lot more snap and fluidity on my punches. Now, albeit these are 12-ounce Mexican-style gloves, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you can see there's a lot more sharpness in how I throw my punches and how I throw my shots. Like, you can see another thing that's very glaring is how I'm sitting a lot more back into my stance, because that's something that was generally being worked on and like told to do, because I generally never noticed it. Like how I mentioned to you guys, I didn't notice that I was just very front foot leaning. And then once coach told me, he was like, yo, bro, you really gotta like sit back in your stance. You really gotta just sit back in it. You leaning forward too much. And then once I realized that, I was like, okay. And then when I would go look back at a bunch of other stuff, it was like, dang, bro, I'm really just front foot heavy. I'm a front foot demon, which obviously isn't really necessarily that good. And then another thing, like how I mentioned, you will generally notice how I move a lot more differently as I'm hitting the bag and I'm approaching the bag. The one thing that I don't like that I'm doing right now currently, though, is when I throw out my jab, you'll probably end up noticing it. Like right there, like my arm kind of, like, I like calling it chicken winging. But it's like it's like winging out when I'm shooting that double up and on that one, or doing anything with my one. It feels like I'm just chicken winging it with my rear hand. So that's something I do need to work on. But you generally can notice how there's a lot more sharpness and a lot more flowing when I'm actually throwing a lot of these shots, and I don't look as stiff or robotic necessarily. Because before, if you look at the older clips, I generally don't look as comfortable when I'm throwing my shots, I'm placing any of my shots. And you notice a lot now, I'm actually moving my head after throwing combinations. Because obviously, as any fighter knows, you can't just constantly keep your taco on the line. If you do that, you're just asking to generally get hit. But even with all that being said, I still got a ways to go to getting to where I want to actually be. And honestly, man, I'm just trying to shoot to honestly try to get in the amateurs and move up from there, try to go pro. But right now, obviously, a lot of work got to be put in. There's still a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed and a lot of stuff that needs to be worked on. But honestly, I could say I'm generally happy of how far I've come in the sport. And I can't wait to see how far I can actually take this sport, a sport that I found that I feel that loves me back. So that's generally what it is with me right now. And I appreciate you for watching this honest update of me working on my craft. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.